10 game.
So yeah, you're catching us here with Ed McCaffrey of the Denver Broncos and the San Francisco 49ers here on Starcade Media. He's joining us. We put it all behind us. There's water under the bridge. Chiefs and Broncos, we are solidarity. It's all solidarity, and we're all cheering for the Chiefs in Super Bowl 57.
Right. Well, Coach Sean Payton is not cheering for the Chiefs.
I did see that.
But I think he's going to right the ship with the Denver Broncos. Give the Chiefs credit. They have ruled the division for a really long time now, and they're so talented and well coached. But I think the Broncos are going to give them a run for their money. They're righting the ship and to get back on track.
Well, it's only fair. You guys had John Elway where we were struggling finding quarterbacks, Elvis Grbac, Steve Bonos, and now you guys are struggling finding quarterbacks. Maybe it's Russell Wilson, not so much after this past season, but like you said, maybe Sean Payton can get it back on track. And we've got the hot item in Patrick Mahomes.
Steve Bono and Elvis Grbac are friends of mine. I played with Elvis in San Francisco. It's such a small world.
Yeah.
And always loved those guys that were in for him, unless we were playing them. But Patrick Mahomes just setting a record this year for passing, and the things he does are just amazing. And I know there's a lot of talk about how successful the offense can be without Hill, even in Miami, and they bring in Juju and Quez, and they got all these guys. Tony that can make plays and spread the ball around a little more. And McKinnon out of the backfield, right? He's just crushing it. So Pacheco shows up and is better than what people expected. So you got to give credit to Andy Reid. You start with him, and then your quarterback. And he's put Patrick Mahomes in a situation to have success. But also, it's those intangibles, extending plays, getting out of the pocket. The scramble drill is literally a play for those guys.
Yeah.
You start scrambling, that's a play. Everyone knows where you're going. And they're so darn good at it. So they're a great team. He's a great player. They're tough to beat, and everyone's chasing them. I think they're facing a pretty formidable opponent this week. I'll tell you what, I saw those guys up close and personal, and their offensive and defensive front is for real. So, for what it's worth, I think Kansas City is the more explosive team, starting with Patrick Mahomes and the weapons they have in the play calling of Andy Reid. They have some talent on defense, a young secondary. But this run game for Philly's for real. So if it turns into one of those ugly, grounded out games, then it's going to be really important to protect the football. So even though Kansas City is more explosive, that's a good secondary in Philly. They could be burned, but if you throw it around too much, they could make you pay. So I expect a really good game. I think the odds makers are probably onto something with a 1.5 point spread. It's a coin toss, and I expect a great game.
Ed, going back to your playing days, I know you tried to pretend you didn't remember a certain loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in '97, but it was.
It must have happened.
That's just it. See,
I remember going to Kansas City at that point.
Yeah, it was
maybe not a French Cannon start.
What I remember about is I had a catch in that game. There was not a lot of receptions. It's a low-scoring game. But I was running. I was about to score. Somebody grabbed me by the back of the neck, which would be a horse collar. So I avoided it, and then sure enough, my man, grilling with McMillan, shows up on the 2-yard line, throws his body up in there. No fumble. Keeps me from getting the end zone, though. And by the way, check out Grilling with McMillan. That dude is awesome.
We like Mark McMillan a lot.
Mark is awesome.
Mighty Mouse.
Keep me out of the end zone. He got carted off the field, but he kept me out of the end zone.
Laying their bodies on the line.
But we did score. So it was one of those games. Well, it was a hard-fought game. Those were some good teams. We had Neil Smith at the time, so that kind of helped us.
Yeah, that was another part of that. We talked to Rod Smith before about the corners you guys played against the Kansas City Chiefs. Dale Carter, James Hasty,
played with Dale
Mark
Carter.
Collins. I think Rod said that was the toughest group you ever went up against.
James Hasty was for real. I don't know how much that guy bench pressed, but they would, not make it easy on us because they would press on almost every play, and he was so strong. I'm like, oh my gosh, will he just play off coverage a couple times, please? And then, you had to fight so hard to get off the line, and those were battles, man. Those were, top to bottom, all 3 phases. Those were great teams. Those were great battles.
Yeah, I think Rod said it felt like Dale Carter and James Hasty were in press man coverage when you guys got off the bus.
Yeah, you knew what you were in for in those games. It wasn't going to be any easy releases, sit-in zone coverage. It was going to be you're going to work for every single thing you get. But that's what made those battles so great.
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy. We're good, you're good, let's go.
Yeah. Clint was talking about that 97 game. Neil Smith is there. Of course, he wants it bad. And that was a little victory for us. Like you said, you would go on and get us in the playoffs. But I remember the call from Dick Enberg as Pete Stoyanovich kicks that 54-yard field goal to jog your memory through the uprights.
Is this some regular season game?
Yes! We hold on to that for our 90s team.
Clinch the division.
It's up! It's high enough! It is good!
Going through Arrowhead to get there. I'm not remembering I don't remember half the regular season games I played in. But I'm glad it means a lot to you.
It does. I hold that special place in my heart.
roles are reversed. Denver's now going to be looking to get us in a regular season game that they remember forever. While we're like, oh yeah, Super Bowl 57.
It's been a while.
Denver gave you guys your run for your money this year.
Are you talking about a regular season game? I don't know. The Chiefs are in Super Bowl 57 here. I remember that.
I don't remember the score. I really don't remember the score. I just remember I was shocked because they had a rough year.
They were down to the wire.
So maybe it's a good matchup that Coach Payton can build on.
Yeah.
For next year.
Or maybe everyone took their run at the Chiefs this year with the Chargers spending all the money, you guys trading away all your draft picks.
I hope for the sake of the NFL division gets more competitive.
Yes, the AFC West needs it.
Yeah, I know that you might not think that way, but
it should be.
If I take out of the Broncos camp for 1 second, I still hope that it's more competitive because the Chiefs have run the division. I mean, it's been forever. How many years is it now?
7.
7 years. That's crazy. That is dominance. I know people are talking about whether or not it'll be a dynasty, and it's pretty darn close. A Super Bowl win. I mean, you put them in that category of the greatest runs that teams have ever had. So it'll be interesting. I tell you what, Philly's in a similar category with they got a pretty talented young quarterback as well, right? Jalen Hurts. And I'm excited for this game. This is a hard one for me to predict.
It is.
It really is. I'm not touching it. It's just too hard to predict. But two great teams, two great quarterbacks should be fun.
We're going to go over to the FanDuel section over here and put our money where our mouth is here. No, we're not. Okay, Ed, so I have to admit, the greatest individual performance I've ever seen in a football game was your son Christian. I was at the Rose Bowl in 2015, or I guess it was New Year's Day, 16, against the Iowa Hawkeyes, the Stanford Cardinal. He goes to the San Francisco 49ers in the middle of the season. First game was against the Chiefs. He had 3 days of practice. Comes in, was able to contribute. I think he had 50 yards rushing in that game. And to see where he's gone the rest of the season, if they can figure out the quarterback position there in San Francisco, that could be an Eagles-type team that keeps getting back to Super Bowls. They've already been in one 3 years ago. Your son's in a very good spot here.
Well, thank you for mentioning that Rose Bowl.
It was awesome.
That was one of the most fun
I was
games
there, yeah.
I've been part of. And, Lisa and I went out there, found out there. We were staying in a hotel, and Iowa just dominates with fans. I mean, they had scores the stadium. We were staying in their hotel, like at Stanford's in California. I thought it was awesome. But then, they're up 21-0 in no time to turn the punt and touchdown. That was, as parents, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is one of the greatest games. And, C.J. Beathard was quarterback, and we knew his family. Bobby Beathard, rest in peace, was a phenomenal GM football person for a long, long time. So there was a lot that went into it for us personally, but also in terms of the build-up to that game, it was a phenomenal game. Yeah, Christian was so blessed to go to the 49ers. I have so much respect from Jed York to John Lynch to Kyle Shanahan to all the guys on the team, Anthony Lynn, Bobby Turner, who was running backs coach for Trev Davis in Denver. They're just great coaches, great people. They care about winning, and they really thought they had a chance to win a Super Bowl this year. And it was just so sad how it ended. You're
an injury.
You're down to your third quarterback, and then Mr. Irrelevant gets really relevant. And plays great ball, and then 3 plays into the game gets hurt, and then Josh got a concussion, and they're playing a whole half basically without being able to throw the ball. And I've never seen anything like it. And who knows what would happen? Philly's a really good team, But they had it. They were undefeated right up until that, after the trade, and was feeling good about it. The only loss was to the Chiefs. Christian actually played in that game without having practice.
Had 50 yards rushing, and after 3.
And I was nervous in that game because he had not taken one handoff behind the line in
Carolina
for a game. And all of a sudden you're in a game in the NFL. This isn't Pop Warner. Like, you're playing in the NFL and you haven't taken a snap. So, but Brock Purdy helped him run through the plays and get ready for it, and that's when he started earning a little respect for him. So it wasn't a shocker the 49ers when he played well, but it was just a bummer way to end a championship game. But I saw enough of Philly to know these dudes are for real. Kansas City will have their hands full, but Philly knows what Kansas City has for them.
Yeah, you went to Stanford. Your son goes to Stanford. Your son gets drafted to the Carolina Panthers. Just go through the emotions when you got the call. Maybe you heard about it on TV first these days, or Twitter or something, that Christian McCaffrey was traded. to the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah,
your favorite
well,
team.
it was tough, right? You know, it's such a small world. I know someone on every team. I know people on the Chiefs as well. I know Eric Gannon and those guys. And I root for my guys that I like.
Yeah.
You know, rather than teams, I root for the guys that I know and like, players and coaches.
Sure.
That's just how it ends up being because you know them and respect them. But when Christian was about to get traded, he's still playing for the Panthers knowing he's going to get traded.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, picture that. You know you're not going to be here in a week, but you still have to go and play a game. It was a tough position to be in. But we heard the Rams. We thought it was going to be the Rams. They had running back holding out at the time.
The Chiefs were somewhat rumored. There was, out
But we thought, like, who has enough to trade for him, and then who really needs them, and then if there's teams that were not really in a Super Bowl run, they might, decide not to do it. So it was down to 3 or 4 teams, and we got down to the Rams and 49ers, and we had no idea. We really didn't. They don't give us any information because their teams are bidding against each other. They're not going to tell you what they're thinking. So, but we were so excited that it was the 49ers. So excited. And, selfishly, Lisa and I, we went to Stanford, lived in the Bay Area, played for the Niners, and so we've reconnected with so many friends.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I just think the world of Kyle Shanahan as a head coach and all those guys we mentioned, they're class act.
Yeah, there's a part of me that really wanted a rematch there from Super Bowl 54.